What's up, guys? Eric here, Mr. Fired Up Wealth. Today I'm going to bring you a video that talks about the 17 things that they don't teach you in school. Stay tuned. All right, so things they don't teach you in school. I think this is going to be really good in terms of just something we don't do a lot on the channel that we should do more of, just self-development, personal finance. I consider myself a finance coach, and I want you to be a better you. I want you to be more successful. And I think this video is going to help you with that. So if you're an investor, this is very important to you. If you're not an investor in the stock market, this is still a great video for you to watch. So number one, they don't really teach you this in school. And before I start, obviously, depending on what you went to school for and where you're from, this might not apply to you. You might be one of the couple percent in the world maybe where you learn these things in school. But for the most part, I'm in the United States, and for the most part, they don't teach you this in school, especially not in high school, maybe in college, depending what your major was. So I want to disclose that first. But generally speaking, the average person in the population, they don't know these things just from going to school. They had to kind of teach themselves, or they had to invest in themselves and actually read and study and join groups. Like, for example, I've got a Patreon group that teaches stuff like this. But invest in yourself. Number one, how do you sell? And you say, well, I'm not a salesperson. Why do I want to know how to sell? The thing about sales is that sales makes the world go round. Whether you're interviewing for a job and trying to sell that you're the best candidate for the job, whether you're trying to sell to your boss that he should give you a raise, whether you're a 6-year-old and you're trying to get a candy bar from your mom or dad, in the grocery line, sales make the world go round, and it can make your life better if you know how to sell yourself, how to convince people that you are good at something. It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't mean that you should go and deceive people, but how to sell, how to basically paint the picture to somebody, understand that person, what's important to that person, and paint the picture to, shine you in the best light to them. And that's what it's about when you're thinking about how to sell. Number two is negotiation skills, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the first one, which is why I put it at number two. I mean, if you know how to sell, you probably know how to negotiate. Just because you can sell doesn't mean you necessarily negotiate. But for the most part, if you're a salesperson, if you know anything about sales, negotiation is a huge part of that. Why is it important? Well, everything from negotiating a better rate on your credit card, to a better mortgage rate, to calling up your cell phone provider and saying, I'm going to switch to your competitor unless you give me $20 off a month. Negotiation skills can definitely save you money. You can take that money, you can invest it into, stock market, into yourself, into whatever. But anytime you save money through negotiation, it's going to give you more capital to work with. So number two is negotiation skills, very important. Number three that they don't teach you in school, how to think successfully. And you say, well, what does that mean exactly? Well, you don't really have a mentor. You don't really have a book that necessarily can teach you how to think like a successful person. What makes successful people successful? They have confidence. They are determined to get things done. They, are not going to take no for an answer. They're thinking like a successful person with the work ethic and the drive. And this will kind of tie into a couple other of the bullets that we'll get to here later as well. Time management, number four, it's really important. With busy lives, everybody is overworked and underpaid and overstressed. And if you're a parent or a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, employee, all the different things people keep themselves busy with, you need to learn how to manage your time. And that can be a very important skill to learn. And you think of like a Mark Cuban on Shark Tank. He talks about, if you watch Shark Tank, how he manages his time, and he'll block out time. These guys don't sleep very much. They get up early in the day. They block their time, and they manage their time down to a T so that they're getting every cent of efficiency they can out of themselves every single day. And that's very important. How to face failure is number five. You build your castle, start with a solid foundation. This is a picture from my wife and I went to France a few years ago. Would love to go back again soon. How to face failure. That means, being able to understand that you're not going to win every time. You might start a business and it might fail, but if you're determined, you're going to keep trying until you're successful. And learning how to deal with failure, to not just crawl in a hole and die, but to actually face the failure and say, how can I improve? How can I do it better next time? How can I make it work and be successful? And that's something you don't learn in school necessarily. I think sports can definitely help with that. I played high school sports, I played college football, and you do, I think, learn how to face failure because you're not going to win probably every game. Maybe you're a lucky one that won every single game in their career. I don't think there's many out there, but generally speaking, you're not going to win every game. So you learn how to face failure through sports. It's not necessarily something you learn in the classroom. I mean, again, it depends on the situation, but for the most part, the average person, they're not learning how to face failure from a regular, school environment. Number 6, how to invest. I mean, there's a million different things on YouTube and all over the web about, this person and that person, watch this video, buy this, buy that. But they don't really teach you, most schools do not teach you how to invest. What does it even mean to be an investor, a long-term investor? How to dollar cost average, how to build a portfolio, all those different things in investing. And these are the type of things that you learn in my Patreon. So if you're interested at any time, I've got a Patreon group. Just Google Patreon, Fired Up Wealth. You'll find us. And I'll get some more at the end if you're interested. But this is where it's really about, learning how to invest, how to make yourself a better person, how to be more successful. Number 7 is about principles of success. And this kind of ties into one of the earlier bullets that we covered. But you want to, these are some of mine. There's obviously 100 other ones you could add. But for me, I always want to go above and beyond. And whether that's in, my daily life as a dad or a father, whether it's in my Patreon group, I always want to underpromise and overdeliver to anybody that is relying on me. And that's important to me. That's one of my principles to success. I'm always going to follow up. If you reach out to me, whether it's a friend, a family member, whether it's, a YouTuber, I mean, for the most part, I answer every single question, unless it's a question I don't understand, or if you're trolling or something like that. But for the most part, a genuine question where you're trying to get help, I try to answer every single one on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere. So I always try to follow up. I always try to follow through and do what I say I'm going to do. Working well with others, of course, you've got to be good with people. If nobody likes you, it's very hard to be successful if everybody hates your guts. Strategic thinking, being able to think about short-term, mid-term, long-term goals, having a vision of what your business looks like, what your portfolio looks like, what your retirement looks like, that planning, being able to strategically think to build those plans and have those visions. That's a principle of success that you might not learn in school. Networking, it's really important. Sometimes it's not even what you know, it could be who you know. You've heard that 100 times before, but networking can be very key, from social media, LinkedIn, things like that from a professional aspect, but, also networking, getting out there and actually meeting people face to face when there's not a pandemic, that's very important to your success. Getting to know people, getting people to like you, gaining trust, gaining rapport, breaking ice. That's all part of networking. Work ethic, of course, it all starts with work ethic. If you don't have the desire to work, if you're lazy, it's going to be really hard to be successful. You got to have drive. Everybody has a motivation, a drive inside of them that makes them want to do something. And if you don't have that drive, you probably aren't doing what your calling is meant to be, what your passion is. And we'll get to that more in a second. Always do the right thing. Ethics, try to do the right thing. Try to treat people the way that you'd want to be treated. Don't burn bridges because, it can come back to haunt you later. So that's a principle of success. And there's going to be mistakes sometimes. Nobody's perfect, but you're always doing your best to try to do the right thing and being very conscious about your decisions. Keep your word. Again, following through, keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And do it on time. Be on time. In fact, be early. When you play in sports, if you're late, everybody on the, at least in football for me, if I'm late, everybody else runs while I sit there, and everybody hates your guts for a day. So be on time, be early, military style, be early, not just on time. DW, what do you know this acronym is here? This acronym, this is do what you say you will do. Do what you say you'll do. So keep your word, follow through, do what you say you're going to do. And then mind and body, we're all guilty at times of letting stress and just an overabundance of things to manage and do. Maybe we don't take care of ourselves as best we can. We don't exercise as much as we like. We don't eat as healthy as we like. But it's really important to be successful. You've got to stay healthy, because at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, none of the wealth matters. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your family, your happiness, your mind and body, none of it all matters. So that's a very important part of success. Follow your passion, find your passion, do what you love. Some of these overlap, we kind of talked about. There's a picture of my wife and I in Paris, France, in the Eiffel Tower. And I love to travel. I, never could find a job that allowed me to travel for work. I actually have a, my degree is, my undergrad is in international business, and I always wanted to travel. And I actually did travel quite a few times internationally for my job. But of course, by the time you get a job that lets you travel internationally, now you have kids and you don't want to travel internationally. When you're 25 and you have all the time in the world and no kids, well, then nobody wants to hire you to fly over to, to Japan to meet the executives over there. So I've been able to travel quite a few times, especially in the UK. Been to Glasgow, Scotland many times, all over the United States, San Francisco multiple times a year because of my job with Silicon Valley. And technology is my passion, and I found my passion with technology. And now my passion really is this: finance coaching, stock market, and I'm following my dream for that as well. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Try to do what you love and find your passion. If you hate your job, you're not going to be happy, and it's going to be hard to be successful. So definitely number 8 is important. Number 9, how to handle your money. And this goes back to how to invest too, but this is as simple as, how do you balance a checkbook? How do you pay your bills on time? How do you, build an actual budget to make sure that you have enough money to pay for your bills? How to handle your money wisely and not blow it on things you don't need. Very, very important. Self-explanatory, but nonetheless very important, and not something that necessarily is taught. Usually people have to learn it the hard way. Number 10, make an impact. Make an impact on people's lives. Try to inspire others to be better. Make an impact on whatever that is. If you're a software developer, be the best software developer you can, and create something new that makes an impact for your business or for your brand or for your product. And whatever it is, make an impact. And even if it's not in your job, make an impact with your family, with your friends. There's things you can do to volunteer and make an impact in the world and make it a better place. And it's important. And all these things combined just make you a better person. It makes you more confident. You feel better about what you're doing, about your life, and you're making an impact, and you're being successful. Number 11, how to start a business. Now, obviously, if you go to business school, they might teach you how to start a business, but generally speaking, it's still not going to be in the depth that you need. You probably need a mentor that's going to show you exactly the ropes of how to create an LLC or whatever. There's a million different things that can go into that. But how to start a business, that is something that is not necessarily taught. Not a lot of people know unless they paid for it and went to school for it to better themselves. Number 12, travel, and how important it really is. Travel will open your eyes and your mind to different people, to different cultures, to different experiences. It'll expand your emotional intelligence. It'll make you a better person. It'll make you see the world completely differently. I've been to over 75 countries, and this picture here is from King's Landing, Dubrovnik, Croatia. So if you're familiar with Game of Thrones, this is actually King's Landing of Game of Thrones, and it's Dubrovnik, Croatia. My wife and I, a few years ago. But travel has been really important. It's made me more confident. I was very shy in high school. I traveled a lot with some friends in high school and through college, and even after college. Did a backpacking trip through Southeast Asia and India when I graduated college with one of my best friends. And I can tell you it's changed my life. Sports and travel are the two biggest influences I've had that really shaped me as a human being and my personality and just my confidence level and all those things. So travel can be really important. Get out there, experience things, just be vulnerable and do something that is out of your comfort zone. And sometimes that means traveling to places like, that you've never been before, maybe that might seem, crazy far away or scary, like going to somewhere in Africa or something like that. But you'll end up going, and people will be nice, and you'll love it, and it'll change your complete perspective of the world. I promise you. Communication skills are critical. Um, I had to get a master's degree that really helped me. I had to invest in myself and get a master's degree that really helped me focus on my presentation skills. I can tell you with confidence that if I didn't get my MBA, that was a cohort style MBA where we did, all in-person classrooms where we did a lot of presenting, and it made me a better communicator. It made me a better presenter, and I would not be talking to you right now if I wouldn't have invested in myself and got my MBA to hone in on my communication skills. So I used to be really shy, travel, all these things kind of together make a person more successful. Emotional intelligence is something that a lot of people don't even understand what it means, but it deals with self-awareness, empathy, motivation, self-regulation, and social skills. And the easiest way I can put emotional intelligence is that if I'm saying something that is offending you, like trying to put myself in your shoes, having those social skills and that awareness to make sure that you have the emotional intelligence not to upset somebody, not to say the wrong thing. You have to be really everybody knows a person, maybe a family member, aunt, your mom, something where they'll say stuff and you're like, oh, just kind of like cringe. And you're like, man, there's no emotional intelligence. They're like, wow, they don't know they're being abrasive, but they're being abrasive because they don't have the emotional intelligence to realize that they're doing it. And it's something that just you can't just read a book and learn this. This is something that you have to practice as a person with your social skills, with your empathy, with your awareness, being aware of your surroundings. Emotional intelligence is a really big deal that's not talked a lot about, but I can tell you that that's something I've really focused on over the last decade or so. And in my sales career, it's made a huge impact. And even with what I'm doing now with social media and with my Patreon and things like that and YouTube, the emotional intelligence to try to okay, what's this person on the other end thinking? Because you might want to ask a question, but you feel like it's a dumb question or something. But if you're using, emotional intelligence, say don't reply in a way that might offend them, especially when it's, through typing. It's, you can misconstrue an email or a response on YouTube so easily versus a verbal communication. So emotional intelligence, if you don't know about this, Google it. It's really good stuff. Up next, how to read, number 15. There's a couple more, so we're getting close here. I appreciate hanging in there. I promise you the end of this is really important, so do stay tuned. Number 15, how to read financial statements. Can you read one of these? Do you know what a profit and loss is? Do you understand gross profit? Do you understand what net income is? Do you understand, what an asset and liability is? This is really important, not just as an investor in the stock market, but just general life skills to understand. If you're building a budget even for yourself, for personal finance, financial statements can really help with that and just your general overall understanding of finance. So if you don't have a finance major, or if you haven't taught yourself to read financial statements as an investor, then you might not know much about financial statements, and I encourage you to improve your skills on that. Understanding tax laws is way overlooked, and it can be one of the most important things for you to be, successful, especially as an investor, because if you don't understand what a wash rule is and you screw that up, or if you sell 2 days before a short-term capital gain goes into a long-term capital gain, and instead of 15%, now it's at 22%, which is your ordinary income tax. There's a lot of things that goes into this with estate planning, with how Roth IRAs work. I mean, basically tax law and tax rules and tax codes change all the time. Like, do you qualify for a Roth IRA? What's the max? $6,000 a year. Well, what's the cutoff where you make too much money where you can no longer invest in a Roth? Well, how does that work then? What if you're self-employed? Can you do a Roth IRA? What's a SEP IRA? What's a self-employed 401k? What's a Roth 401k? How does that impact your taxes versus a non-Roth 401k? If you don't know that stuff, life can get really hard. And that's where, again, you can hire a tax professional, a financial advisor, or we're not financial advisors, and we certainly don't know tax law, but we can direct you, to the right resource, the IRS website, things like that. And that's some of the questions that we get, here and on Patreon. And you got to know the rules of the game. And sometimes that might mean doing a lot of homework on your own and reading the IRS codes. It might mean hiring a CPA to understand it, but whatever it takes, understand the tax laws. And the more money you have, the more important number 16 is going to be. I promise you that. The last one, 17, invest in yourself. So, I'm Mr. Fired Up Wealth. I create stock market education for early retirement. I've got a Patreon, and this is the Patreon page, just kind of a snapshot. Just Google Patreon Fired Up Wealth, or you can go into the comments or the description of the video and you can click on the link. It'll take you right to it. So right now we've got 5 more seats left on the Fired Crew. This is an introductory offer for general chat and Discord and some exclusive content. And then we have the Elite Founders Club, which is a really good value. There's 14 seats left. If you're interested in seeing what's all included on that, again, Google Patreon Fired Up Wealth. It's Patreon, Patreon, Patreon plus Fired Up Wealth. Take a look at the Elite Founders Club. The VIP Founders Club is already full. We've got a max of 15 in that one, but we have 14 seats left in Elite Founders Club. This gives you access to exclusive, streams every day. In fact, I just got done with a stream with the group in Discord. We had probably 50 people or so on there, maybe even more, and basically went through a bunch of charts, went through a bunch of questions. We do that every day, either before the market open or after the market opening. Usually it's at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern before the opening bell, but check that out. We're adding some options content education in the channel in 2021. Right now we do all kinds of fundamental and technical discussion. We break down the analysis of individual stocks. We have a community on Discord that's an excellent community. Right now we've got about 190 people in there, and we've got a really good core. So if you're interested, join this. This is going to be capped. I'm not going to let it get out of control large. So I'm maintaining the quality by capping these sizes, and take a look and see if it's something you're interested in. There's also a free Facebook group. You can go ahead and go to Facebook, go to Fired Up Wealth, check that out. That doesn't cost anything. You can also check me out on Medium. I've also got a website called firedupwealth.com. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Please drop me a comment. Please stop by, the Patreon and check it out. But I really appreciate it. And I've had a lot of fun with this channel. It's been a little over a year. And, it's great hearing from people saying, your videos really helped me. They've inspired me to save, I'm trying to make an impact. I'm trying to do, I'm trying to help people and do what I think is right. I worked really hard to get where I'm at and to make the money that I've made. And I'm trying to share some of those experiences and some of that knowledge with you guys. So thanks again for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.